Bugatti is currently sitting on Alex's right to repair, and if he doesn't challenge the narrative, they will get away with it. The big question is this: how is it that I spend millions of dollars on a car that I want, and the company who sold it to me acts like they still own it, and says that I'm not allowed to let anyone else fix it but them for millions more dollars? Make it make sense. Isn't that monopolizing? And nobody is talking about this. Let me quickly read the law so you can have a clear picture of the situation. The EU Right to Repair law ensures that car owners can access affordable, independent repairs by breaking manufacturer monopolies on visible spare parts, such as bumpers and lights, through a new unified repair clause. Adopted in October 2024, this legislation allows consumers to choose non-original, competitive parts for bodywork, encouraging lower costs and boosting the independent automotive aftermarket. That's the promise. No more gatekeeping, no more forced loyalty to official networks. The law specifically targets visible spare parts, bumpers, lights, panels, the exact parts manufacturers charge a fortune for. It creates a unified repair clause. Translation: you can choose non-original parts, you can choose competitive suppliers, you can choose independent mechanics. This was built to lower costs and strengthen the independent repair market. But here's the problem. Laws only work if someone enforces them. EU legislators made it clear, a car does not have to be serviced by a main dealer to retain its warranty. That should be the end of it. But manufacturers found a way around it. They offer a 1-year warranty extension, but only if you service with them. It's not mandatory, but it feels like it is. Because who wants to risk losing coverage on a multi-million-dollar hypercar? That's the game. They work around legislation. They exploit fear. They overcharge because they can. And this keeps happening among top brands because most people can't challenge them. Most people don't have the resources. Most people don't have the platform. But Alex does. And if you care about ownership rights, about transparency in the car world, about not being treated like you're renting something you paid millions to own, hit subscribe. Because this is the fight that could change everything. Let's start with the foundation. In most European countries, once you legally buy a car, it is 100% your property. Not leased, not borrowed, yours. The manufacturer cannot legally dictate who repairs it after the sale. They can recommend, they can suggest, they can warn, but they cannot control. Trying to force a customer into an official repair network clashes with basic ownership rights. It clashes with consumer protection laws. It clashes with the principles of private property. Here's the core tension. If I paid millions for this car, why do you still act like it's yours? Why do you get to decide who touches it? Why do you get to decide what parts go on it? Why do you get to decide if it gets fixed at all? Alex bought this Bugatti legally, from auction, title transferred, but Bugatti's response: silence, obstruction, refusal to cooperate, as if ownership is conditional, as if the sale came with invisible strings attached. Now here's where it gets dangerous for them. European competition rules are strict. They discourage forcing customers into official service networks. They discourage creating monopolies over repair. Blocking independent repair can be seen as anti-competitive behavior, and anti-competitive behavior, that's illegal. The law supports access to parts, tools, and information for third-party mechanics. That's not a suggestion, that's the law. So when a manufacturer refuses to provide parts, refuses to provide technical data, refuses to acknowledge an independent rebuild, what is that? Control. Monopoly. Exactly what the law was designed to prevent. This is where the argument starts to feel less like policy and more like power. They don't want you to have options. They want you dependent. They want you coming back. They want you paying their price. Once Alex bought that car from auction, it became his private property. Not Bugatti's, his. Ownership includes the right to modify, dismantle, and repair your asset. That's not controversial. That's foundational. If a manufacturer attempts to obstruct that right, it could be argued as interference with lawful ownership. And here's the thing that makes this different. Alex didn't just start rebuilding and hope for the best. He prepared lawyers early, before the car was even split, before the first bolt was removed. Because this was never just about fixing a car. This is about rights. This is about proving a point. This is about showing that even the most exclusive, most expensive, most gate-kept cars in the world fall under the same laws as everything else. You can't just rewrite the rules because the car costs more. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. If Alex finishes this rebuild, if the car works perfectly, if independent repair was not only possible but successful, what does that say about everything Bugatti claimed? Stick with me, because what happens next could rewrite the entire industry. Now let's talk strategy. If Alex sues after the rebuild is completed, the narrative changes completely. Right now, Bugatti can say, "It's not safe. It's not possible. You'll ruin the car, but once the car is done, once it runs, once it's certified, once it's proven that independent repair was not only possible but done to perfection, the obstruction starts to look less like concern and more like control. It's no longer about whether it can be fixed. It's about why they tried to stop it. And that's a much harder argument for them to win. The car works, the rebuild succeeded, the independent shop delivered. So what was the refusal really about? Safety or profit, protection or monopoly? This isn't just about one car. This is about precedent. This could test how far luxury manufacturers can go in controlling repairs. A legal challenge could reinforce that even million-dollar hypercars fall under the same ownership and competition principles as any other vehicle. Because if they can do this to a Bugatti owner, what stops them from doing it to everyone else? What stops them from refusing parts on a Porsche, on a Ferrari, on a McLaren? Where does it end? Lawyers being prepared before the car was even split shows this was never just about rebuilding. It's about defining what ownership truly means. It's about drawing a line. It's about saying, you sold me this car, it's mine now, and you don't get to control what I do with it. Here's what this really is. It's a fight between ownership and control. It's a fight between consumer rights and corporate gatekeeping. The right to repair law was created to keep things repairable and working, not to force people to throw them away, not to force people into expensive official networks, not to give manufacturers permanent control over something you paid for. But laws only work if they're tested. And many manufacturers maneuver around these laws because most people don't challenge them. Most people can't afford to. Most people don't have the platform. Most people just accept it. But Alex isn't most people. And if he challenges this legally, if he takes this to court, if he forces Bugatti to defend their position under EU law, the entire industry could shift. Because once one case succeeds, the floodgates open. Other owners, other brands, other fights. So the question now is this. Will Alex take the next step? Will he file? Will he force this into the courtroom and make Bugatti answer for blocking a legal repair? Or will they settle quietly, change their policy behind closed doors, and hope no one notices? Because here's the thing. If they fight him, they risk losing. And if they lose, every hypercar manufacturer loses with them. But if they don't fight, if they let this go, it sets a precedent anyway. Either way, this doesn't end with the rebuild. This is just the beginning. The rebuild was phase 1, the legal challenge is phase 2, and phase 2 is where the real power lies. Because you can rebuild a car in your garage, but you change an industry in a courtroom. That's where the rules get rewritten. That's where the gatekeepers lose their grip. That's where one person's fight becomes everyone's victory. And if Alex goes all the way, if he pushes this to the limit, if he doesn't back down when the pressure comes, and trust me, the pressure will come, this becomes the case that every car owner points to. The case that proves you can't be bullied. The case that proves ownership means something. The case that proves the law actually works if you're willing to stand behind it. If you want to see how this plays out, if you want to support the movement for real ownership rights, stay subscribed, share this video, make some noise. Because the only way we change this industry is if we refuse to stay silent. This is bigger than one car. This is about all of us.